Good afternoon, and thank you for joining the inaugural From Pause to Clause Visionary 2020 series. Your Office of Alumni Relations is appreciative of your support during the month of June, and we promise as we move to twice a month, the rest of the series, that we will bring you stellar alumni to present relevant topics that will support the recent graduates, as well as alumni who join seeking job changes in their careers and those who just want to lend their support. As always, we wish to thank the alumni panelists who have shared in the past and the ones who will come forth today in their area of expertise. We did not seek you out, yet you came running with the spirit of a panther, which we are, your knowledge base when you called to say that you wanted to participate. But before we start, let me share a tad bit of history of the Office of Alumni Relations signature event From Pause to Clause. The Alumni Student Networking event was originally designed in 2008 when Kareem Taylor, class of 2010, in his sophomore year, expressed that students should learn from alumni. Over the years, we have continuously called on the alumni community to embrace our alumni in waiting, commonly known as students. We encircle them with their becoming a member of the only permanent constituency of our alma mater. As cubs, they bounce and pounce through the discovery academically, socially, and spiritually, finding their way as their talents grow into claws and become fully entrenched felines of service, locally, nationally, and globally, while remembering to provide financial support to the institution that developed and placed them on their path of well-rounded citizens. There is more to the program, and feel free to read the entire historical review in the alumni section on the CAU website. This newest edition is dedicated to the Perfect Vision class of 2020. As the alumni community, we did not have the opportunity to fully engage the class this past spring. So we can begin our conversation, I would like to express many thanks to my colleague, Chastity B. Evans, class of 2010, who serves as the program manager in the Office of Alumni Relations. She will be your host, for the series was created by her and for our interaction. Chastity, it is now your time to begin the conversation.
Well, thank you so much, Alumna Galen E. Gatewood Joshua, for that wonderful introduction and historical context. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining your Office of Alumni Relations for the Vision 2020 series, Professionals, Value of Mapping Your Future, What's Next? Special thank you to alumna Dr. Michelle Rhodes, Program Specialist for the Office of Online Learning and Continuing Education, for being the technical commander behind all of our webinars. Thank you so much. Now let's go into the purpose for today. COVID-19 may have canceled your summer plans, but it doesn't have to delay your future success. Haven't become the Instagram or Twitter superstar you were hoping to be when quarantine began? Well, the next best thing quarantine provides is an excellent opportunity to reflect on your goals and the best ways to achieve them, understanding how to expand your network, increasing your industry and functional knowledge, and continuing to position your goals for future success. Alumni leaders, let's discuss when is the right time to elevate the next steps and what we can do now to be prepared for our future. Just a little housekeeping rules before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel. I will bring them up during our Q&A section to discuss. Before we get started, this week has been rather challenging for the Office of Alumni Relations and the alumni community in whole. Let's all give a moment of silence for our alums who have lost their lives due to COVID-19 and to other reasons, related. So please definitely keep in your prayers and thoughts the families of alumnus Selden, alumna O'Neill, alumnus Cohen, and alumnus Maybach. So, and all of the other alums that have lost their lives during this year. So let's please give them a moment of silence. Now, without further ado, introducing our first panelist for today is Dr. Roger Caruth. Alumnus Dr. Caruth attended Clark Atlanta University, where he received a BA in Mass Communications and an MPA in International Administration and Development, a Juris Doctor degree with an emphasis on entertainment, business, and technology law from John Marshall Law School in 1999, and a PhD from Howard University in 2013. Alumnus Dr. Caruth currently teaches at Howard University in the Strategic, Legal, and Management Communication, known as SLMC Department of the Kathy Hughes School of Communications. He has taught at Morgan State University in the Strategic Communications Department, Baruch College, Zicklin School of Business and Queens College, and Political Science Department, both a part of the City University of New York System and Georgia Perimeter College in the Department of History and Political Science. He recently concluded a 3-year research fellowship in Annenberg School for Communication at the University of Pennsylvania. Alumnus Caruth utilized interdisciplinary approaches to conduct qualitative and quantitative communications research through narrative inquiry, historical analysis, traditional, social, digital, and emerging media. Alumnus Dr. Caruth's specialty focus includes international communications and the use of information communications technology, known as ICT, tools, specifically social media, to improve the quality and standard of life of Caribbean communities in the region and abroad. Specific areas of research include policy, law, education, politics, health, economics, culture, agribusiness, tourism, and hospitality, and the energy development. As a volunteer and active community member in Washington, D.C., he serves on the board of H Street Main Street, a nonprofit that has played a key part of the revitalization efforts of the H Street corridor in the District of Columbia, and served as a member of the local alcohol and beverage licensing community for ANC 6A, located in Ward 6. Other boards and commissions include the Caribbean Tourism Organization Foundation, the Mayor's Advisory Commission on Caribbean Community Affairs, Caribbean Communications, and Upliftment Jamaica. Thank you so much, Dr. Caruth, for coming out today and for serving your alma mater. What an impressive bio, and we are so happy to have you today.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So your first question for today, Alumnus Caruth. What did you put off that you wish you had spent more time on? And as a follow-up, this question can be job-related or professional, whichever way you decide to take it today.
First of all, I want to say thank you again for having me to be on this panel with this distinguished Panther alums, and I'm looking forward to the conversations today. I thought about the question, and I would have to honestly say I haven't gotten to that point yet. I think CAU prepared me, and I'm sure my colleagues, so well that as opportunities or difficulties come up, we learn how to navigate through them. And I think one of the best, if not the most important skill that I developed at CAU was the ability to think critically and problem solve. So as we move into different aspects of our life, personal or professional, I don't think that there's something that I think that I missed an opportunity to take advantage of.
Okay. Well, if talent is the joyful expression of your unique abilities, since you've yet to find that yet, how are you using your talents to benefit you? And, as well as the CAU community or the world overall, because I see that you are a renowned traveler. You are going back and forth, and you're very interested in the Caribbean communications as well as Howard, CAU, and some other areas that you have up your pocket. So, tell us a little bit about that.
I would say being at a HBCU, CAU in particular, it teaches you how to network. And I think we do that so well. I think we stay connected, particularly nowadays with social media. And we're aware of what our colleagues, our peers are doing. And we have learned how to be giving open people. So we connect each other to each other. And I think that grows the opportunity for us to continue to benefit from our skills and the things that we've learned. So I would say at the end of the day, connecting people is probably the thing that brings me the joy the most. Independently, Brandon and Marshall and I and operating in different spaces, but because of the CAU connection and then continued networking, we meet at different spaces. And I think that's the uniqueness of being a part of the CAU family. And then coming back, for example, to homecoming, to reconnect and get to see people in person and see what's going on. Vanessa and I were joking around about some of our Caribbean roots prior to the conversation, growing up in New York. So there's so many connections. He's in the communications field, as am I, to a certain degree. So I think those are the things that are most prominent to me at this time, and networking and connecting and making sure we can point people to other places and other folks that can help them as people matriculate through various aspects of their journey.
Got it. So definitely networking and connecting. I like that. Yep. It seems that you have done quite a deal of networking, connecting with your son, as we have a little surprise for you all that's on the webinar for today. Dr. Caruth, you want to tell us a little bit about this video before we play it and how it's being connected to our last panelist for today?
Okay, well, sure. My son is an up-and-coming NASCAR driver in the Drive for Diversity program, and obviously with the spotlight that's on Bubba Wallace now being the only current Black driver, the opportunity for him my son in particular, fulfill his dream. I just helped him along the way, and we're at a tipping point where, again, the CAU family has been supportive in so many ways, on and off, visibly and behind the scenes. And as I got here, another colleague introduced me to Brandon, who's familiar with the program, and we connected, and that connection just continued to grow. So while there, because I'm a lifelong learner, as you can tell from my bio, I put my production hat back on. So while I'm here in this new space that I'm not familiar with, I said, what can I do to make the best use of my time? So I just started shooting content, which I've always done, but it just became more relevant as the summer went along and he progressed and continued to get better. What can I do with it? And ultimately we created a short documentary, and what you're getting ready to see is just kind of a 1-minute trailer highlighting the program and just kind of what he's doing in his own space, trying to become a NASCAR professional driver at this point at 18.
Awesome.
When we heard about Roger and then read his resume, he is progressing well, looks like to be a very good future talent.
I see him, especially compared to the other kids, he's more focused.
Racing against some of the best guys, battling for top 10s and only your 6th or 7th or 8th, that's awesome.
I think if he keeps on this path, he could be a top driver someday.
First heat race through the night. We're glad you joined us for round number 10 here. The Bojangles Summer Shootout gates just opened about 3 minutes ago. And glad to have you filing your way into the grandstand area.
In 5 years, hopefully, be in a truck somewhere or maybe Xfinity car.
Full field of cars, here we go.
to be first black driver to win a race or first black driver to make the playoffs or any of that. I want to be the best. My ultimate goal is to be a Cup champion.
Wow, that is amazing. Wow, kudos to you for being an awesome father and for definitely supporting your son through this wonderful adventure. We definitely look forward to supporting him as well and having his back 100%. So if you can, though, in the chat or, definitely drop his handles as well so we can, look forward and follow his story of Through the Fences. So.
And thank you. And this is a quick plug. Brandon, congratulations to him. He'll talk about it, but he's just been elevated to this super visible role that's handling everything that you see in the media with Bubba and black drivers and diversity. And, we're happy to be a part of the CAU family and the NASCAR family under his tutelage.
Well, we're definitely rooting for number 13, Dr. Carew. Thank you so much for that. Definitely is a testimony of networking and connecting everyone. That's it right there in full if you're listening. If you all have any questions for alumnus Dr. Carew, please type them into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel now. We will be sure to get to them during our Q&A session. All right, introducing our next panelist for this afternoon is alumna Vanessa Caesar. A native New Yorker from Jamaica, Queens, alumna Caesar was raised in a house filled with music. At the age of 10, Caesar's career goal was to be a manager of a radio station. Wow. This passion for radio sent her to Clark Atlanta University, where she was one of the founding members of the student radio station known as WSTU. After receiving a BA in Mass Communications, she began her journey through the entertainment industry at Radio 1 Atlanta. From that moment, entertainment was her life. The Atlanta music scene in the late 90s and the early 2000s set the foundation for an extensive career in the industry she loved. In 2002, Vanessa returned to New York and upon the suggestion of a friend, decided to tap into the world of film and TV production. Wearing many hats over her 23-year-old career, she has held positions on various productions, such as 30 Rock on NBC, Royal Pains on USA, Inside Man on Universal, and Harry on Fox, just to name a few. Beginning as an eager intern to most recently manager of production finance at Complex Media, there were many challenges along the journey. With a very direct approach to managing, she continues to be committed and passionate to getting the job done. Alumna Caesar is active in her community as the financial secretary of the National Association of University Women, Flushing North Shore branch, president of the Greater New York chapter for CAU's Alumni Association, and most importantly, she is an amazing mom to her 10-year-old amazing drummer son and future Jeff, Michael. Thank you so much, Alumna Caesar, for being on the webinar today. We truly appreciate you, and we look forward to hearing more about your production wonders.
Thank you, Alumna Chastity. It is amazing to be here with my peers and my friends and my family, as well as the alumni community. Thank you for your support.
No problem, no problem. Thank you. Now tell us, when were you able to use your talents, your skills, and gifts? And what were you doing and how did you feel?
That question brings me to the first time that I was able to use my talents and gifts. It actually was in church. I was tasked along with my best friend to produce a concert for our youth, and the concert sold out. That experience, that feeling was just a blessing to know that we impacted the lives of 2,000 people. It was from at that point that I learned how to impact people with entertainment. whether it is, you know, making people happy by producing a concert, which was that, or a show, a TV show, or being a part of a TV show. Many people come to me and they're like, oh, you worked on that show? That was amazing. You know, I love that show. Or, you know, that show is my favorite. I watch it over and over again. That just brings me joy as well, just to know that I was a part of that. And as far as my talents are concerned, I call myself the people person. I love to have fun in whatever I do. It doesn't matter, you know, what it is, where I am. I make sure that, you know, whoever is around me, that we enjoy what we are doing. And I bring that to work. In production is very tough. It's long hours. It's not easy to get into. So you really have to be able to, you know, enjoy it. You're there for 12, 14 hours sometimes. You have to have some type of fun. And please believe that I bring the fun as well as professionalism in whatever I do. Marshall understands, you understand as well, Alumni Chastity, what I bring to the table. I do appreciate Marshall for allowing me to bring my talents and efforts to the alumni community as I began to serve as president under his presidency as alumni president. So wherever I am, I truly, you know, bring the fun, bring the seriousness, and we get the job done.
Exactly. And I can wholeheartedly agree to that. And being in production, being a people person is a plus, because you rarely find anyone in finance a people person.
That is very true. That's very true. And with me being in finance, it's really tough because I serve I say that, like, I'm weird. I'm a weird person as far as finance is concerned, because most of them are like, to the book, this is it, you know, and I come and I bring, you know, I'm smiling, you know, my team is smiling. So I pride myself in that wherever I go. And even at Complex in this COVID quarantine work experience, you know, when we're on our Zoom calls, I'm like, hey, good morning. You know, you have to bring that personality into every situation. And to me, that's one of my talents.
And sometimes that's good to have, because you never know what the other person may be experiencing. So you probably blessed them with a smile today. We're going to steal Coke for a little bit of Coke and a smile, but a coffee and a smile, let's just say that. So what is your why, Vanessa? I mean, and this question is important because it helps us to identify why we are going after our dreams. You know, if one of our goals is to lose some weight, why exactly do we want to lose this weight? You know, if our dream is to become CEO at our organization, like, why do we want it? What will becoming CEO do for us? Like, do we want it because of the associated status or because of the CEO salary that would allow us to give our family a better life? You know, the why is a deep-seated reason behind our goals. And I really feel like, you know, with you being a mother, you know, being a supporter, being a very hardcore go-getter for your alma mater, and being highly embedded into the production world, you know, you can definitely attest to what is your why.
Absolutely. Well, my why is twofold. My why, my personal why, if you will, is of course for my family and for myself, for us to achieve, you know, success. And success does not always equal dollars, you know, to achieve success in life, enjoying life, you know, living the best life, as they say, you know, living your best life. That's my why for my family. Professionally, my why is the impact, the legacy. And the two can be combined in some sense. In everything I do, my name is on it. So my why is my legacy. My why is the impact the lives. When I teach dance to my students, I want to impact their lives in a positive way so that 20 years later, they're like, oh my goodness, I remember when Miss Vanessa said. You know, my why with working with Clark Atlanta and just impacting students, new students, alumni is, you know, I remember when we did X, Y, and Z and Miss Vanessa or Vanessa said. And it's just to trigger a thought process in someone. You know, the history that we learned at Clark Atlanta is very vast. And so, you know, to continue that legacy, to continue that, a lot of people ask me, why do you do so much for Clark Atlanta? Because I love my school. You know, I love what I do as far as production is concerned, creating amazing content for people to see. One of my greatest projects that I was a part of for a year is called Random Acts of Flyness. And that was it has a large cult following. They could have paid me maybe $100. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, but just to be a part of that was such an amazing project that people continually still talk about. And so it is to impact the lives of others in every way possible, whether it's my family, whether it is, you know, someone I meet in different organizations, but to impact the lives of others with my spirit, with my light. And I thank God for allowing me to be able to do that. And I will continue to do that until he takes me out of here. That is my purpose. That is why I was brought here.
And that is amazing. I feel like we need an acronym for impact. You know, to go underneath the Alumni Association or Alumni Relations, you know, for the New York chapter. Because, yeah.
Got you. It's coming up. I got you.
We're ready. Check. You know, please credit me on the side. Thanks. Okay. Thank you so much, Alumna Caesar. You always bring us light and, you know, positive vibes, no doubt. I am digging this panel because you guys are rocking it. So if you all have any questions for Alumna Caesar, please type them into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel now. We will be sure to get to them during our Q&A session. All right, now we're moving along. So now we're introducing our third panelist for this afternoon. It's alumnus Marshall J. Taggart, Jr. Alumnus Marshall J. Taggart, Jr. joined the Montgomery Regional Airport as its Executive Airport Director on May 15, 2019, after previously serving as Deputy Airport Management Professional at the Premier Executive General Aviation Airport located in Metro North Atlanta. His leadership endeavors does not stop there. He is currently the National Director of Airport Business Development for Advantage Networks, now MediaShift Incorporated, located in Glendale, California, and recently functioned as the Deputy Aviation Director for Tallahassee Regional, now International Airport in 2013. Alumnus Taggart has co-managed a $10.5 million operating budget, 43 full-time employees, secured nonstop air service from Tallahassee to Washington, D.C., and from Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, to West Palm Beach, Florida. He has launched a new career Civil Airways, formerly known as Gulfstream, Thanks Again passenger loyalty program, executed successful marketing and communications plans to partner with local North Florida chambers to market the airport as the gateway to the Gulf Coast, and established the first annual Airport Fun Fest and Barbecue Challenge in 2011, and Airport Fun Fest, and several more in 2012. Alumnus Taggart will receive his doctoral degree in political science from CAU in the spring of 2021. As a double CAU alum, Marshall graduated magna cum laude, receiving an MPA with dual concentrations in public finance and urban management in the summer of 1997, as well as cum laude with a BA in accounting in spring of 1992. Alumnus Taggart is a 2008 graduate of the National Forum for Black Public Administrators, Executive Leadership Program for Aspiring Senior Public Executives, recipient of NFBPA's 2007 Stephen E. Ford Young Public Administrator of Year Award, and served as the youngest national president of the Conference of Minority Public Administrators in 2002. From 2014 to 2018, Alumnus Taggart served as National Alumni Association President for the CAU Alumni Association. Under his leadership, the CAU-AA Incorporated Board raised $450,000 in student scholarships and increased the number of chapters from 14 to 40. Alumnus Taggart received the National 2016 44th President Barack Obama Lifetime Award for Community Service, the National Alumni President of the Year Award from the National Black College Hall of Fame, and was awarded the 2015 Southern Regional Alumni Brother of the Year Award. Taggart also holds civic memberships in the following organizations: Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Alpha Zeta Boule, Vice President of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Omicron Phi Lambda Chapter, Prince Hall affiliated third degree Master Mason, W.C. Thomas Lodge, number 112, and a member of the 100 Black Men of South Metro Atlanta Chapter. He has been married for 21 years to the former Sherry L. Foster, a 1992 CAU alumni, native Chicagoan. They are proud parents of 2 adult children, William Joseph and Lauren Christian. In his spare time, alumnus Taggart loves to travel with his family, follow historically Black college and university marching bands, play golf, and collect African-American history books, articles, and artifacts. His greatest achievement is his family and the love they share. How awesome. Welcome so much, alumnus Taggart. How are you doing today?
Alumna Chastity, you did a great job. Thanks again. And it is a pleasure to be here. I'm watching the time, and I want to be respectful for everybody because we have a brother who I definitely want to hear from who's following me, Brandon. And then, of course, you hear Roger, then Vanessa. You know, it's just a pleasure. And I applaud Alumna Galen Gateway-Josho in terms of yourself, your staff, Michelle Dukes Rhodes from back in the day, right? Because I have a long storied history, graduating and coming into the first entering class, Clark Atlanta University in 1988. And so that's always a pleasure to me to see the history and how it has evolved. And growing up in Atlanta of its 2 historical institutions, Clark College and Atlanta University. So it's a pleasure for me and an honor, and I'm very humbled to be here today. So Chaz, go ahead. You got the floor. Questions?
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. So what are you doing right? What are you doing right now that is allowing you to have this positive, transformative effect on others? I mean, because you're glowing right now, Marshall. I mean, you're doing it. So in the workplace and from a personal perspective, like, what are you doing right now?
God is good. That's the first thing. I mean, I give honor to that higher power that really has coveted myself, my life. It hadn't always been a great experience in life. You know, there are trials and tribulations, there are valleys, and there are peaks and mountains that you will achieve. But I think in the long run, as long as you believe and know that someone has your back and that you are an instrument to help others, that's the key. How do you pay it forward? And I'll start that off because that's what Clark Atlanta University has taught me. And when you're talking about a career and you really want to progress in a career, choose a career in which you're going to give back to others. You can't go wrong. You will always be successful. If you are always giving your time, your talent, and your treasure to these individuals and really working 100%, you'll receive those blessings. They'll come right back to you. Chastity, you know that I'm executive airport director at an airport in Montgomery, Alabama. And let's talk about Montgomery. Montgomery, of course, cradle of the Confederacy, but also the birthplace of civil rights. So you have 2 different dichotomies associated with time, in essence. I actually live on Dexter Avenue, where Dexter Avenue Baptist Church is, where King actually was a pastor. But right down the street, on the side of the north side of the street, Jefferson Davis also hit the telegram to start the Civil War, right there on Dexter. So there's a very unique history when you talk about at the end of the street is the state capitol. At the base of the street is where slaves were actually marched from the Alabama River to in turn be sold to different communities throughout the Alabama location. So that leads into the historical part of me being the first African-American executive airport director. I didn't ask for that. And I didn't even know it was the case until I found out. And I started looking on the kind of the honor wall, and then I saw all these white male faces of all the airport directors. I said, I guess I'll be on the other end. My chocolate face will be. So I guess when you look at the employees and people that are there, it's always a rarity to see the first African American. So the first thing people are thinking is that, hey, what is he going to do to change it? Well, I in turn come from a background of working at 2 large hubs, one medium hub, 1 small hub, a non-hub, and a general aviation airport. This is my 6th airport that I've worked in. Nice. So coming from Hartsfield Jackson, Chicago O'Hare, Chicago Midway, Tallahassee Regional, DeKalb Peachtree Airport, and now Montgomery, they have a talent professional. I've been in the business for 20 plus years. And in between that, I decided to kind of balance it all and meet my goals. Hey, one, I wanted to receive my PhD. And I did that while in turn working on my coursework. And thank you, Roger, for being my inspiration, because he's my classmate in the MPA program. And I said, hey, I was deciding between that and law, and I said PhD would be an excellent opportunity for why I am serving as the National Alumni Association president. So finished my coursework, finished my actual comps, and now working on my dissertation. But just to let you know, you can do it. And if you really look at our 2 mottos from what I live from this example, definitely making sure the first piece is, culture for service, paying it forward. I would want us for all alums who are here listening and tuning in on this call, always pay it forward. My first 2 interns were Clark Atlanta University students, okay? In terms of moving them forward, then I had 2 additional from Alabama State. So I'm an HBCU person, I always support HBCUs. And then now I have 1 individual now who's starting as from Alabama State, who also is another intern female. So I've had and then another gentleman who's at a PWI who's studying to become a pilot. Now, all of these individuals are African Americans. And, my board asked the question, why are you only hiring Black people? I said, I'm not hiring Black people. I'm hiring qualified individuals, and we are underrepresented in the industry. There are only roughly about 12 to 13 African American executive airport directors who run airports. I said, we have a responsibility to make sure that we put people in the industry. So that's key. So when you talk about culture for service and you ask the question, what am I doing? I'm in turn trying to level the playing field, but at the same time running an airport, going through COVID-19 and making sure that we stay afloat. We've had no layoffs. We've had no furloughs. We've been able to manage efficiently. All of our flights are coming back at our airport. So we're very happy about that. We're practicing social distancing, plexiglass, things on the ground, on the floor. And I'm proud to say after my first year there, I did receive a 3.5 out of 4.0 in terms of my evaluation.
Nice.
Board did give me a raise, and also too, I'm not in any form of fashion bragging. I'm just telling you God's gifts working through me to influence others and really impacting the Montgomery community, because as a whole, African Americans tended not to use the utility in the city. And so now we have a footprint of having an individual who looks like them to sell them and say, fly MGM. We want cheeks in seats. And I say that all the time. If people fly the airport, okay? Let's make sure we move forward. I'm going to mix it up the Clark Atlanta University way. Well, I hope that answered your first question.
Cheeks in seats. I love it. Look. No, I'm not.
Look, these sheets, right?
I might have to look. I may have to quote you later on. I may have to quote you. So, what do you say are some short-term losses? You're willing to accept to reap the future gains. Like, why is this important, especially if you're working at MGM?
I have a beautiful spouse. Okay, I say that because we are Clark Atlanta University alums. We're both graduates of class of '92. She was my accounting tutor. We both majored in accounting. So I think when you think about having that basis of CAU, it in turn helped me to find a spouse, to get a good quality education, have my kids, one of my son to be educated there. And it's an opportunity in my mind to say, how do you build and move forward in your career while maintaining work-life family? Well, my spouse said to me when this position came up, because I didn't go searching for it, someone called me about it. And I asked her, we've already done the long distance thing with Tallahassee. And I came back to Atlanta. And I said, how do you feel about me taking this opportunity to actually run an airport? I was number 2 in Tallahassee. And her comment to me was, go for it. This is your dream. So to have a very supportive spouse, that's very important. And I would say if you haven't found a spouse, all the alums who are on the call and on the thread, all you got to do is look. Clark Atlanta University makes the best background, makes the best couples. I'm plugging my alma mater that way too. But I think the losses associated with the comfort zone of being in Atlanta, you have to make those sacrifices in your career. You have to deal with the racism. You have to deal with the classism. You have to be willing to balance all these things in order to become successful, because every day is not going to be a nice day. It's not going to be rosy. And so I think in this regard, you have to be able to understand and have a true faith. So that's one of the losses. I'm not in Atlanta. I live in Montgomery. I still own my home here. And from a family standpoint, we go back and forth. And sometimes I'm away from my family. So that's one of the losses that you're going to have, the actually having the family there. So be ready to deal with that if you want to succeed. The other piece of that is just understanding about your comfort zone. There are going to be scenarios where you're going to have to one day stand next to a Jeff Sessions. I'm going to let y'all just hear that. Stand next to Jeff Sessions, okay? You may have to meet Trump, and your personal beliefs may not be the dichotomy of the political component of what you're dealing with in the particular locale you're in. So you have to learn to be able to balance your personal convictions with what you're doing on your job. So I'll stop there. I think it's an opportunity, again, to address everyone, and any questions that you may have, I'm more than willing to answer those questions as we move forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I mean, there's a lot that we could take with that and we can run with it. So everyone, if you definitely have questions for Alumnus Taggart, now's the time to drop those into the Q&A session so we can, get those questions answered for you, because that was a lot of great gems that he just dropped. So thank you. Last but never least, introducing our final panelist for this afternoon is alumnus Brandon M. Thompson. Vice President for NASCAR's Diversity and Inclusion. Alumnus Thompson is a 2005 graduate of Clark Atlanta University, where he majored in business administration and concentrated in marketing. Thompson has spent 3 years as an account executive in what is now known as NASCAR's Industry Operations Department before serving as senior account executive in NASCAR's Diversity Affairs Department. While present, Thompson implemented the Wendell Scott Commemorative Decal Program, which honors the first Black driver to win a NASCAR Cup Series race and become inducted NASCAR Hall of Fame. Alumnus Thompson also executed the launch of NASCARdiversity.com. After a 2-year stint as the operations manager at Revolution Racing, where he created the Revolution Racing Driving School and managed their youth racing program, Thompson returned to NASCAR as manager of racing operations. In this role, Rookie of the Year programs for the NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity and Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series, weekly and yearly purse distribution, sponsor approvals, and managing the day-to-day functions of the Drive for Diversity program fell under his attention and care. In July 2016, Alumnus Thompson was tapped to lead the competition and operations of NASCAR's regional and touring series, i.e. NASCAR's minor leagues. That role has since evolved to include the sales and marketing efforts. Most recently, the 17-year-old industry veteran was the first diversity intern graduate to join NASCAR's executive rank as an officer in his current role as Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion. In his spare time, the Nashville, Tennessee native enjoys music, spending time with his family, and coaching youth sports. Alumnus Thompson resides in Charlotte, North Carolina, with his wife, Marquetta, and his son, Kari. Welcome, Alumnus Thompson. How are you doing today? And super huge congratulations to your new role. We are so proud of you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And as Roger mentioned, just happy to be here and humbled to be here on this esteemed panel.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's go ahead and jump into this question, shall we? What do you believe? Cool, awesome. What do you believe created your present circumstances? And, are your assumptions limiting how you view your life? And, what do you see as your end game? Either one of those you want to target, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, when I think about what I believe created my present circumstances, it's sort of a three-part answer. I think each one of the panelists have touched on the fact that, I certainly give honor to God for blessing me throughout my career and life. And so, as I get older, it's less important which pronouns people put on God or what they choose to name it. But certainly believe that, as I believe Marshall referenced, God is certainly good. I think the second thing, which kind of leads, kind of coincides with that, is I think every stop on the journey throughout my career has literally prepared me for this moment. So whether it was, starting as an intern through the diversity internship program, working sort of on the quasi competition side as my first job in NASCAR, coming back and managing the internship program in which I was a participant, and then moving on to Revolution Racing, which houses the D4D program, which is the same program that Raja Caruth, Roger's son, is participating in now. And then even on the last two stints in terms of managing the competition aspect of the minor leagues and the racing operations role, like I said, have all literally prepared me for this moment. And then the final piece of that for me is, a very simple answer. It's CAU. So I would not be at NASCAR more than likely if it wasn't for some of the counselors and things that we had who were pushing internships and who curated internship opportunities. I literally found the opportunity to participate in the NASCAR Diversity Internship Program, being nosy on a counselor's desk who frankly allowed us to do that and was very open in a very closed, very small office. And so she was more than more than kind to share her space. But so yeah, that's kind of how I look at that. I guess in terms of what do I see as the end game, as I was reading the title, of this particular panel, and this, I probably approach it differently than a lot of people may, in that I've not really set a goal based on a title or a particular job throughout my career. One of my favorite books is by Bill Walsh. It's the autobiography of Bill Walsh, and it's called The Score Take Care of Itself. And I've sort of patterned my career after that in the sense that I've kind of just kept my nose down and worked hard, harkening back to those work ethics that were instilled in us at CAU, and sort of let the chips fall where they may, and just sort of take it as it comes. Nice.
If you can, please drop that book into our chat, so people can definitely follow that and, purchase if necessary. So what are your risk thresholds, and, how can you avoid playing things, conservatively? Because I know NASCAR is, as Marshall stated, you will have to meet, Trump, or you will have to meet those people that, don't necessarily agree, with your political stances. So how do you play those things?
Yeah, well, I think sort of two parts. I think as far as, and Marshall's right, I think that's regardless of what industry you're in, you're going to come across people who don't think like you, who don't look like you, who don't act like you, who don't share your same value sets, whose family circumstances are different. Whatever the case is, there's just a difference of people in the world, right? And so that's just a fact of life. But I think it's all in a professionalism. As Vanessa alluded to earlier, it's about making sure that, there's a time to speak, there's a time to speak up, but there's also a time to be quiet and listen and learn, and everything doesn't have to be done in a militant fashion. I think, there's some finesse that needs to be involved throughout these things. And I've certainly experienced that, have had, frankly, a couple of missteps where I've been a little too militant, and on the other side, some circumstances where I probably should have been a little bit more militant. But I think you learn from all of those. The goal is to learn from all those experiences and figure out and just try to judge a little bit better about when you need to be more vocal, and sometimes when you need to sort of do a little bit more of observing. So in regards to the risk, that's an interesting question for me, because I'm someone who tends to be, again, when you put me on a scale, I'm probably a little bit less risky, I guess you could say, a little bit more risk averse. But I think that, as you have to, as in most things in life, you have to figure out, okay, if I'm going to be a little bit more risk averse in a certain area, or just risk averse in general, you have to try to figure out some ways to work around that personality trait of yours. And so you just kind of try to augment that, be aware of it, number one, but then also not be afraid to assert yourself in certain situations that may appear risky, because I think at the end of the day, most folks who tend to be a little bit more risk averse, it's more due to fear. And I think the more you put yourself out there and the more you sort of take those risks, you become more comfortable, and you can go out on the edge of the diving board just a little bit further before plunging in, so to speak. So certainly a tip of the cap to all of those who, entrepreneurs and things like that. I certainly admire that spirit. And I think as you go throughout your career or life or whatever the case may be, just, being a little bit not afraid to again go towards the edge of the diving board is important.
And I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I feel like each and every last one of you all that is on this panel, even the people that helped put this panel together, and our attendees that are watching this webinar today, are all risk takers. We're all go-getters. If not, we wouldn't be on this noon to one call today, listening to other risk takers. So I feel like it is all about going to the end of that diving board and taking that plunge, because at this day and age now, we have to do that, but we have to be smart and strategic about doing it. So thank you so much for that. And, definitely going forward, I hope our students that are on this call, can understand that sometimes you have to do that, in order to be appreciated and move forward. So some things that we could definitely take a helm of and really appreciate is definitely networking and connecting. Like Dr. Carew stated, it's all about knowing who it is and what it is. It's not necessarily sometimes about what you know. Sometimes it's about who you know. So network and connect and move forward, be that people person, keep it professional, like Alumnus Caesar stated, as well as keeping that impact, forming that impact, utilizing the impact, and paying it forward. Like Alumnus Taggart stated, nothing is better than giving back, to wherever you came from and making a plunge, making that big splash, taking that risk, where you are now, so you can allow others to follow suit and inspire others. So what a very inspiring panel today. I can definitely attest to that. Thank you so much, Alumnus Thompson, for breaking it down and for bringing your awareness and for allowing us to, know that it's okay to take that risk. If you have any questions for Alumnus Thompson, please type them into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel now. We will be sure to get to them during our Q&A session, which is now. So if you have your questions, let's go ahead and get those answered. So thank you again to our alumni panelists for the insightful gems that have released today to go forth with you. We will now go ahead and take some time for our questions. Just a reminder, if you are still typing, or if you, have an idea that you think that you may want to ask, go ahead and ask it. Just be sure to type it into the question box in your control panel. Now's the time to engage. Let's engage and let's network and let's connect. So it looks like we have a few questions. So let's go to them right now. So our first question is coming from Alumna Hillman to Alumna Caesar. She says, how do you graciously continue to thrive in your industry as an African-American female, professional, and mom? How do you balance it all?
Well, Alumna Fenda, I must say that is definitely by the grace of God first, because, being on set at times or being in the office on films and projects. It's very time consuming. And so, of course, God is definitely, he makes a way for me. And then I would have to say my family, my support system, my family, my mother, who I live around the corner from, which is amazing. She's actually supporting me today. She helps me a lot. My son's father, he's very much involved in his life, and he really supports, he supports his son. And so as a mom, that is important, to have a super support system. My friends who are also here, I might have to call them and say, hey, could you go get Mikey? I really do have a great support system. And aside from that, at work, professionally, I have, like I stated earlier, created a network of people. My job is one that, I've worked at times as a freelancer in this industry, and your job and the longevity and the next job depends on who you know. It depends on your last job or the relationship that you have. And so I have to say that it is, myself, my network, maintaining these relationships, calling someone, texting them, hey, how are you? How's it going? How's the industry? So maintaining all of my relationships, whether it's personal or professional, is how I am able to maintain. And of course, having an amazing connection with my creator. I could not have done it without that. I have to get in, even on a job. I'm one of those, I go in the bathroom, Lord God, please come down and help me right now. Because there's times, my friends and those that know me, I have no problems with speaking what is right here. Sometimes it doesn't even get here. It just comes right out here. So, I have to pray. I have to pray. And I just thank God for my church family, the Greater Allen Cathedral, and the Dr. Floyd and Elaine Flake for teaching me how to have a relationship with God and how to actively use it on a daily basis, as well as Patricia McCray, my mother, who has taught me that as well. So I must say that is my village and my networking skills, definitely.
You know what they say, Vanessa, women are the true superheroes. So kudos to you, Superwoman.
Thank you. My crown is up there in the logo some kind of way.
Hey, brothers, y'all are the superheroes too. You got your crown too. Y'all see it? Crown.
That's right. We support them. We are amazing supports to our our men, especially in the African American community. I thank Fender for asking that, because she is another superwoman to her Superman. It is very important that we as women remember, yes, we go out here and work and we do a lot of things for other people, but it is very important that we support our significant others, our husbands, our boyfriends, those men, our fathers, those men that are supporting us. We have to make that plate. It's not gonna hurt you, sis. Make that plate. You really have to take care of those that support you. It is a give and take situation here. And just like alumnus Taggart was saying about his wife. I'm not sure what he was doing when he was on campus to get one, but he got to tell me, he got to text me, let me know how that worked out for you. But it's important for us to support our men. And, Marshall is not my husband, obviously, but I supported him when he was my president very wholeheartedly. And I do that just like now I'm supporting Devin White, Mark Fields, all of the men that are our leaders. We are here to be their support system, even, and vice versa. When we lead, they support us as well. So my little tidbit.
Thank you for telling us to make that plate, sis. Oh, I got some great quotes to leave with today. Okay. So let's go forward with our next question, which is from alumna Armina Hill. This question is for alumnus Thompson. She says, the culture of NASCAR and racing is obvious with the waving of Confederate flags. It's impossible to avoid. Have you ever had a specific personal or professional situation where you couldn't be risk averse? How have you survived for so long in that culture? You got that rhinoceros skin, bro. Got that noob skin. That's how you survive, right?
Well, I think the first thing to point out that it was covered pretty heavily in the media, but the Confederate flag has now been banned from all NASCAR events across the board, and so that's obviously I think it's fair.
Super kudos to you guys.
Thank
for
you.
That. They mad.
Certainly,
they mad, but
yeah. Sure, for sure. But I think I think that we can officially say now that was a part of what the culture of the sport was, and certainly the flag is a symbol of what's in people's hearts, right? And so you can't as easily change that. But again, as I pointed out earlier, I think those types of people, those types of interactions are going to come up regardless of whether you're in NASCAR or Walmart. That's one of the things, and Roger's probably heard me say this before, is that we continue to go to Walmart, we continue to go to football games, baseball games, whatever, where these same kind of cultures and mindsets are prevalent. And it is fair. I am not. I don't have my head buried in the sand, and I think that there's certainly at least the perception, and certainly in the past, some reality of the fact that people certainly felt a lot more comfortable with that in the NASCAR environment, and that's something that we'll continue to strive to evolve and change over time. But as for how I survived in the environment, I think it's for having it's the hope of days like or the month of June, right, when things happen where we openly supported Pride Month, where we banned the Confederate flag, where Bubba Wallace was able to run a Black Lives Matter paint scheme. We'll also try to figure out a link to send to people if you want to buy that die cast as well. We can hook you up with a link to buy that at a reduced rate. But so just being able to those moments are what kept, and the hope for those moments are what kept me engaged. And I think the other thing, to be honest, is there's a great culture around the sport of NASCAR outside of the negativity. I think the sport has gotten a bad rap, candidly, over the years. Some deserved. I want to be clear about that. But I think over the majority of the folks aren't like that. And I think despite the negative commentary and things that you've seen on social media, and that's the vocal minority, but the majority of NASCAR fans and employees and drivers, obviously, as we saw in support of Bubba at Talladega, are on the side of right, and certainly are supportive of the moves that we've made over the past few years. And so that also goes into how we've been able to survive, is that it's not this racial war zone, I think, that a lot of people perceive it to be. But we'll get there. We have to, it's obviously part of what I'm tasked with here is to make not only the people that I'm sharing this panel with, but all the people who are the 65 other participants who are here, to make them believe that through our actions, right? And through things that we're doing in and around the community, and things like supporting Roger Caruth and his growth and development, and certainly have high hopes for him. And he's progressing well and doing and showing his talents on the racetrack. And so we'll get there. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's certainly part of what we're going to be tasked with moving forward. So
most definitely. I agree. We're going to take 2 more questions, and then we're going to go ahead and close out, because I know we don't want to keep you guys long, okay? Our third question, is for alumnus Caruth, and this is also from alumna Hillman. She said, what are your thoughts on the entertainment industry and the racial challenges?
That's a broad question. But
tackle what you can to extent, because it's out there.
Yeah, I'll try to answer that in 2 folds. I want to tack on something. I told you 8 minutes wasn't enough, but I think it's a great time. I was talking to someone yesterday, and they pointed out an older figure who we seek advice from, and they pointed out 3 different points in time in the United States in history when it was good to be Black. And this is one of those moments, I think, because there's a social consciousness that's awake. So when you see Netflix saying that they're going to put $100 million in Black banks, the entertainment industry has been charged to say, if you really step back and look at it, things are really, they're not cool. There are things that should be naturally be taken care of from people in front of the screen, behind the screen, in so many different aspects. We don't need 1 or 2 shows. We need balanced shows. And that comes down to, I think, what Marshall talked about with his board. You need the talent. And if that talent happens to be Black, then we're going to hire the Black talent. So the entertainment industry, I think, is taking stock of that. And another part of that, too, is that they realize that we're at a tipping point. And if things don't change, things will be changed for them. And it prepares all of us here to take advantage of those opportunities. And I think that core value that we learned at CAU, those things kind of researched. Now, I always talk about steel. You only have to forge steel once, right? So you go through that process. And I think going through CAU it teaches us, I should say, the grit, find a way to make one. And all these things we had to figure out when we first got to CAU, like Marshall talked about, when Atlanta University and Clark College merged, and things are, trying to be figured out. And we had to walk from McFetus Dentist to the gym from registration to financial aid. All these things that you develop, you don't know that these are skills you're going to rely on as you matriculate throughout life. So as the entertainment industry is going through a shift, much like the country, they're figuring out that they need to actually put talented people in the places for them to succeed. And again, not just, token shows or token opportunities, but opportunities that should have been there from the very beginning, particularly when your core audience and your core talent is the one that kind of makes the industry money. And the other thing that I want to tack on real quick is just the opportunity about networking. As this thing happened with my son and, these things are evolving, I called Marshall right away and I said, hey, Marshall, I talked to the folks at NASCAR. We're looking at spaces to screen this documentary. There's a track not too far. He's like, don't worry about it. We just set up direct routes from DC to Montgomery. We have a space here, there's a rotunda. We were looking at the Civil Rights Weekend to come down and screen the documentary. And when I talked to him, it wasn't like, no, I can't do it. It was just a matter of coordination at that point. And that just goes to that strong network. When we met Brandon, first thing he said, man, there's sometimes a disconnect between corporate and the people in the field. And that's kind of the same way with NASCAR. And he said, if anything happens, just call. And that's the kind of thing where relationships and networks develop. So I think an opportunity like this and forums like this give us a chance to kind of talk and let folks know what we're doing and have a real one-on-one connection. And I'm grateful to be a part of the panel. So hopefully I was able to answer that question.
Nice. Nothing like true connections, networking, and brotherhood. I love it. I love it. Our last question for today is for alumnus. Oh, whatever. Did you answer it, Marshall? Oh,
yeah, I did, but you can go ahead and move forward. Was that Fender's question the last one?
Yes.
Okay, no problem.
All right, go ahead and answer it, because you already answered it behind the scenes, but answer it in person.
Okay, hold on one second.
She just said, what challenges did you first encounter integrating the Montgomery community, and how did you overcome?
Well, I'm going to answer. I remember what I wrote. Essentially, when you in turn come in an organization, you got to understand the aspect of change. Mm-hmm. And I'll bring up another favorite author of mine, Jim Collins. He talks about going from good to great, right? And so you want to basically look at the change management component and really look at how can you begin to change the mindsets of individuals so they can in turn move in the direction of how you want to move the organization forward. So one thing that Montgomery Regional Airport didn't have a mission, a vision statement, strategic goals, or core values. In other words, how we treat one another, respect, honesty, fairness, being ethical. So all these things in terms of putting together from an organizational structure, you have to make sure that you lay the foundation associated with how you want to be and what would be the rules of engagement. And that not only includes your direct reports, members of the senior staff, but also members of the board. There are a total of 9. And so remember, I am something that's different because I'm an African-American and my experiences are different. And I bring things to the table also with the fact that I know airports. And so some of the things that have transpired in the past with having an airport director who was the fire chief, that kind of the understanding about how airports work, that was very hard to deal with. So dealing with a cultural shift and doing lunch and learns every week with the staff, introducing other types of books like Who Moved My Cheese, also looking at books, The 1 Minute Manager. These are very crucial components kind of nuggets for you as you in turn go in your career where there's a hostile environment? And I'm pretty sure Brandon has to deal with this on a regular basis. Roger, I know we talked about it in terms of different things that your son is experiencing and what you even dealt with at Howard University, because there's an international component there that you have to go past in the African-American community. And I know Gaylin has done it. She's a master at making sure, understanding, managing individuals and understanding the culture of the organization and using that in order to succeed. That's the key. I don't take anything personal. I mean, I've gotten feedback where it's been done confidentially, where people put their hoods on and said, hey, Marshall, you are basically giving too many minority contractors contracts. Okay, I could have been emotional about it, reacted to it, but I think the thing is what people don't understand, there is something called disadvantaged business enterprise and airport concessions, disadvantaged business enterprise. It's the law. You have to in turn incorporate things associated, because we receive grant assurances as it relates to runways and taxiways. The board had no clue about that. So when I brought the actual written documentation to say, hey, this is what we have to do, and we have to make a percentage goal associated with as such, it kind of lightened the load, and it dovetailed into one of our goals of preserving the financial health of the airport. And so it's very key to include diversity. It's very key to include different types of ways to do business at our airport. So that's key. So knowing the law, understanding your role, understanding that you're there as a change agent, and that you're there to move the needle for the community should be your goal when you in turn step into your respective roles. That's very key and critical. Again, culture for service. And I always believe in finding a way of making one. And I did and got past it, okay? So let's roll.
Hey.
Okay.
There we go. Paying it forward. I feel you. All right. So what we're going to do is we got one little quick fun question for Roger really quickly. Who is the greatest NFL football team in the nation? And you cannot say New York Giants. And you're on mute.
That's a tough question. I usually wait till about week 7 to pick my team.
This is from alumnus Will Coffer.
Oh. Oh, man. He said NFL, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Oh, man. Well, what does the saying go? Either black quarterback first, then black coach. So I'll go with Seattle. I like Seattle. How about
Seattle? Okay. Well, his second question, I'll drop it for you in the chat so we can answer it on our post survey.
Okay.
And, for alumnus Thompson, this one comes from Brother Rory. He said, Brother Thompson, how are you looking to diversify NASCAR? Will you all do a college visit via Zoom?
So we're open. I think there's a lot of different ways and things that we're looking at. So we've actually done several college tour visits to CAU over the years. And again, as Marshall mentioned, like huge HBCU supporter. I feel like I've been going to an HBCU since I was watching A Different World. I'm certainly open to that, and there's going to be some things that we're looking at. We support CAU now in terms of some of the video boards and things that we've done on campus, basketball and football games and all that. So we're definitely involved and looking to do even more as we move forward. Certainly. So whether it's college visits via Zoom or live, I don't want to throw live away. I'm not giving up on outside being open yet. So we'll certainly find our way to 223 James P. Brawley Drive, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia 30314.
Hey. You better read that whole entire address. What type of advice, I guess, would you offer to younger alumni who are new to the workplace for being sane and successful in those types of environments? You can either answer it now quickly, or we can answer it in the post survey, whichever one you agree, whichever one you want to do. And this one is from Alumni Hill for Brandon.
I think you've got to approach it with an attitude of excellence like you would anything else, right? It has to be deliberate in what you're trying to accomplish. And I think the other part of that is it's got to be natural. I'm certainly not a believer in forcing yourself into situations. To be uncomfortable is one thing, right? And push yourself beyond your comfort zone is one thing. But I think it's about aligning your goals with who it is that you're networking with. So obviously spending time, for instance, interacting with Vanessa, who's on the media and sort of finance and production side. If you're looking to get into, I don't know, aviation, since we have Marshall here, right? Like it doesn't really make a lot of sense, and vice versa. So I think it's about aligning strategically. And certainly identifying ways that there are crossover, but I think it's also about being natural, being yourself, being authentic. I think one of the things that frankly irritates me a bit in networking situations are when it's obvious that people are being fake. And so I think that comes across, it's very easy for people to recognize, right? And so I think you can't completely put down your veil. There's got to be a sense of professionalism around that. But by that same token, being true to who you are and not being inauthentic, I think is also very important. So being deliberate and strategic, and being yourself, and understanding that networking is hard for some people. You do have to push yourself somewhat beyond that comfort zone, but not so far outside of your comfort zone that it feels completely unnatural.
Chastity, unmute. Unmute.
So sorry, everyone. I was saying thank you so much for that. Definitely some nice gems that we could offer, not only to our young alumni, but to people that are in transition, and to our prospective students that are aiming to get that internship or that fellowship or scholarship, whatever the case may be. So thank you for that. Please stay in contact with our alumni and look out for our upcoming webinars, which will take place every other Thursday from noon until 1 p.m. Immediately following this webinar, as you all see on the screen, those are our upcoming webinars. If you are interested in attending those, we will have the registration and the flyers that will be promoted on all of our social panels, which is at CAU Alumni Relations on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And they will also reach your inboxes via cau.edu from our email. So please be on the lookout for those. Immediately following this webinar, you will receive a post survey. Please let us know what you think about today. Your feedback is very vital and is truly appreciated. So, well, great. Thank you everyone for attending. We appreciate you all being here today. Super special thanks to my colleagues, Senior Director of Alumni Relations, Mrs. Gaylani Gatewood Joshua, who has a birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Gaylin. Whoop, whoop. She gonna turn 33, y'all. Look at her. Looking fine, like wine. Whoop, whoop.
My fellow Cancerian.
And we got another panelist whose birthday is on Sunday. Happy early birthday, Vanessa.
Happy birthday.
Turning 22 on a Sunday. We see you. Right. You better make that play. So yeah, definitely. Please let us know what you think about today. Your feedback is definitely appreciated. Also, super special thanks to Dr. Rose for your stellar service, and to our panels for your remarkable job today. This panel was on fire, y'all. So we appreciate you all for coming out and for joining us. And we will see you in our next panel, which is July 16th at noon. Look out for the announcements. Peace, love, and soul. And don't forget to support your alma mater, CAU. And we out.